Well, here we are. It is October 4th, 2024, and this is the weekly video. Of course, we do these every Friday. We take a look at what's been going on in the Asian art and antique market and so forth, and what the prices have been, what sales are coming up. There's some pretty good sales coming up. We're going to get into them today, and there were some good results. The Masan sale just wrapped up a few minutes ago, and overall, I think they did fine. It was an interesting auction. We did a preview of it because I thought it was a good auction for dealers and collectors, and not necessarily people that are buying, high six-figure items all the time, but true collectors who are interested in objects and material culture of all levels and all grades. They had some interesting lots. I'm going to go through it, and I hope you participated, because if you did and you're a dealer, I think you're going to make yourself some money. All right. Before I get going, though, I wanted to mention the newsletter page. I had a couple of people ask me why, because we had made the change a few weeks ago of including buy it now listings, and I'd been sort of thinking about trying to find a way to split them up. Found a way to do the coding on it, and we did it. So now we have the auction lots are in the front end here. Auctions on eBay, and there's quite a few of them this week, by the way, so check it out. There's actually quite a lot of stuff has suddenly come back, which is good to see. And then below this area are the buy it now listings, so you can go down below and see them. They're way down the page here. These are all auction lots, by the way. As I said, there were a lot of auctions that appeared, and these are the buy it now lots. So you have a choice, because I understand why, because it's a little frustrating if you think it's an auction lot and you click on it and it's a buy it now and you want to bid at an auction, or vice versa. It's a little bit of a workout visually. So we found a way to split them up, and here they are. So it's a longer page. There's a lot of content on here now, so do check it out. And if you use the newsletter auction pages, be sure to subscribe to sign up on the form here. I had somebody email me and they hadn't checked the page because they weren't subscribed, and the lot they were interested in closed on Saturday, and they didn't get to it until Sunday, and they were a little frustrated. So sign up for it. We don't do anything with the mailing list other than just send out notices once a week, pretty much. Or if something really good happens during the week that we want you to know about right away, we might send out something before that. But typically it's just Fridays. We don't rent the list to anybody. We don't do anything with it other than use it for the people who subscribe here. So you're all set there, and it's all stored on constant contact servers, so your information is very safe. It's these mailing companies are very secure these days. So do check out the newsletter page. It's been updated again and changed again, and this week's video, of course, as always, will be on there and so forth. All right, now what's going on in the world? Well, there's a lot going on, actually. There's a lot more than you think. Asia Week, usually it gets really, really quiet once the final sales are done. When Freeman wrapped up their last sale, there's a couple of small sales still going on from Bonhams. There's one sale going on in Boston that I'm going to get to in a minute. It's a Suba auction at Bonhams Skinner. And it's a very good Suba collection. So if you're a Japanese sword person, or you're interested in Suba art, stick around. We'll get to them. All right. One of the things I wanted to mention, I posted this on the Patreon pages the other day, is that this Kisi door surround is on coming up, and when is it coming up? This is the Solano Gallery out in California. It's coming up on the 7th, just a couple of days. This is a really nice door surround, altar surround. It appears to be a Ming example. The colors are good, and these are pretty rare birds, and they typically bring 2,000 to 3,000, maybe 5,000, somewhere in that range. They can spike suddenly at the end, but it wasn't getting any attention, so I pushed it over on the Patreon page to let everybody know, and now I'm telling you, because it's still way under the money. And if you're a silk collector, you want to check this out. It's the Solano Gallery. They're on Live Auctioneers, and the sale is on the 7th. But this is a very, very good surround. It should bring 2,000 or 3,000 minimum, and it could bring 4 or 5. These are pretty rare birds. If you Google Ming door surrounds, Ming Kisi door surrounds in Google Images and take a look, you'll see you'll get a lot of information on them, what they will bring. Or use Google Lens and put this up there. Get an image of this, put it up, and then see what Google Lens retrieves. There's a lot out there on these surrounds. They are pretty rare. They have a very low estimate on this thing of just $500 to $800, which is a joke. And it'll do much better. But if you're a silk collector, you definitely want to check this one out. All right. The other thing I want to mention, Malay Brothers has a sale coming up. There's a few Chinese things in it. They've been added to the global pages, the Patreon pages, and all that. There's a number of de-accessions from a small museum that are in the sale. And there are things like this. This is a really fine Chinese export lacquer sewing box. And it has its original wooden feet. The lacquer is in remarkable condition. You'll notice here, we always check the tops of lacquer boxes because they're the ones that all the dust settles on, and they're constantly getting wiped throughout their lives. And if you see them in this good a condition, you can pretty much rest assured that this thing wasn't left out too much. It was probably inside of a cabinet or something for most of its life to preserve it. And this one's in very, very good condition. I see a small crack in the lacquer on this side, but the artwork is pretty much fully intact everywhere. It's a nice looking box. There's the interior and so forth. So you want to check that out. It should bring $400 to $600. They've got a very low estimate of $100 to $150. I think it'll get right through that. There are already 38 bidders watching it, and the sale isn't for another 10 days or so. So it'll get there probably. But as I always say, leave a bid, for heaven's sakes. Leave a bid. You never know. And I've heard from a lot of people who have been using that strategy. And a number of people have said, yeah, I got some great buys. They just go through and just leave lowball crazy bids all over the place. And every once in a while they hit. And I'm going to get to a couple of pieces I bought this past week that were absolute bargains, and in my opinion, for what they are. And we'll get to those shortly. All right. The other thing I wanted to mention was that Carl Nordblom has a sale coming up. He's a Boston guy. I know Carl. I've known him for 30 years, 40 years. He runs good auctions. He's got this, a Masonic Chinese export tankard. And Masonic pieces, despite the sort of interesting aspect to them having Mason's symbolism on porcelain, they're fairly rare. And I don't think they bring what they should from the historic standpoint. But this mug will probably bring, because the Masons don't encourage the trading of their symbols and so forth because it's a closed society. They don't like it when Masonic stuff turns up in the market for sale. But this is a heck of a Masonic. If you have a friend, maybe you have somebody in your family who's a member of the Masons, this is a heck of a nice Masonic mug. It's a classic type that they were known to produce in China. You'll see this pattern used, not constantly, but this is the one they often used. And they normally sell for somewhere between $1,300 and $2,000, just to give you some guidance on value. It looks like the handles are in good shape. The decoration is all in very, very good shape. You want to get a condition report, of course. He's got it estimated at $800 to $1,200, which is very reasonable. Should go well beyond that. I've seen a couple have sold for over $2,000, but it's a good one. So if you're a China trade collector and you like unusual things or things that are associated with organizations and so forth, this is an interesting thing to go after. They do not turn up very often. The last one that I remember seeing turn up in a sale was about 5 years ago. They are pretty rare. And despite that rarity, they don't bring $8,000 or $10,000. That's the surprise to me. But they will bring should bring $1,200, $1,300 up to $2,000, somewhere in that range. So do check that out. The next thing I wanted to mention was that I got emails about this, and I went and checked when this listing first went up. Casco Bay up in Freeport, Maine has a sale coming up, and it's all Chinese stuff from local states. There's some other stuff in there too, but mostly Chinese. And there's some interesting bits in here. This is the kind of stuff you find in New England estates. New England estates often have very interesting bits in them because the stuff has been here for a long time, floating around. And I want to go through a few of them. One of them is this. It's a very nice ginger jar. It's Kung Shi period. And notice how soft the blue is on this. There's a beautiful soft blue with pine trees and so forth, and all the way around. And then you have the bamboo, and it's the Three Friends of Winter pattern is what the thing is. So it's a very desirable pattern. It has a nick out of the top on the unglazed area, and it has a hole in the bottom. It was drilled out. Apparently this was a table lamp at one point. But it's a beautiful piece of porcelain. Overlook the condition and look at the artwork. The artwork on this is very nice. Very nice, very soft, very elegant, beautiful color, very nice white porcelain, but very beautifully painted. The painting on this is quite exceptional. In the condition, yeah, it's not perfect. Get over it. It's not perfect. Life isn't perfect. But it does have a hole in the bottom, but buy it for the artwork. The artwork on this was really wonderful. It's 8 inches tall. It's estimated at $500 to $700. It's got about 20 watchers on it. It should bring $1,000 or so. It's a very, very nice piece. Very, very attractive. And then over to this, there's a cafe au lait glazed porcelain jar with crackle pattern in it. It's a nice little jar. It probably dates to the late 18th or early 19th century, I suspect, judging by the glaze and the how evenly the glaze is applied, and it stops nicely just at the foot exactly. There it is. It's probably, you know, like I said, late 18th, early 19th century jar. Estimated also at $600 to $800. It should get there. It's a very, very nice example with good color. Nice color and nicely potted. The lid isn't original to it. The lid was put on in the 20th century, as is often the case. And then there's this. This isn't especially old bronze, but I think it's more likely a late 18th century bronze. But look at the top of it. It's got little food lions all over it. This is really interesting. When was the last time you saw a food lion sitting around the rim of an archaistic style bronze? I think it's pretty clever. And this is a type that they made in China. There's also a type that they made in Japan. One of you sent me an inquiry, and just last week, just yesterday, I replied to it. It was a Japanese bronze, very similar in shape to this one. This one isn't Japanese, but very, very similar. That one was actually inscribed and donated to a temple. It's sort of an interesting story. But at any rate, this is a nice bronze. There's the bottom of it. It looks fine. 18th or 19th century, early 19th century. $300 to $500 estimate. It's 8 inches tall. But the food lions, I think, on top just make it really interesting. It's not something you typically see. I think it's a fun thing. And then over to this, there's a pewter-clad Yixing teapot. This is one of these pots. It's bamboo decorated with bamboo ribbing going up the sides. Jade handle on the lid, jade handle on the back, and a jade spout. And the inside of this is lined with Yixing clay. And those of you that buy Yixing know that these are pretty desirable, very collectible things. There's a letter in here, a date going from PC Liu and Company in Hong Kong that sold it. And you know it's an old receipt because it's got a cable address of La Poki on it. They don't use cables anymore. They use email, of course. But this looks like a receipt maybe from the 50s or something, 60s. But it's an old pot. This is a nice old pot. It's a 19th century pot, probably the first half of the 19th century. But do check to make sure that the liner, the Yixing liner, is not damaged. They really have to be you have to be very thorough about that, because if it's damaged, it severely impacts the value. Severely. But if the liner is all there and not cracked and not repaired and not broken, this is an $1,800 to $2,500 pot. If it is damaged, then it's worth $500 to $600. But you want to check that out. Have them put a flashlight in there and really, really be thorough. Get a complete report on that, because it's worth buying. It's a very nice looking pot. It's a very nice shape too. It's a beautiful form. And then over to this, there's a very nice enamel European subject matter tray, 18th century. And these turn up fairly often, but they don't turn up in this condition very often. This thing looks pretty much perfect. I don't see any damage to it anywhere, which is highly unusual for these. These pieces always have dents on the sides and chips and bangs and one thing and another. This one looks completely fine, and it has European subject matter in them. It's a nice piece of export where estimated at just $300 to $400, $150 opening bid. It's already got a bid. It should bring within range of the estimate. Be prepared for that, because it has no damage. Peking enamels, Canton enamels, when they get damaged, it just severely impacts the value, because it's so hard to get restored. All right, but this is a good one. And then this is a nice jade with the revolver in the center, the spinner, so to speak. These are jade spinners, I guess you would call them. This looks like a nice one. It's beautifully carved and nicely polished all the way around. It's got some good details in it. It's got some archaistic roux heads on it. It's estimated at $800 to $1,200. It's going to go beyond that. It'll bring probably $1,800 to $2,500 anyway, but it's worth buying because it's a nice example. The stand is much later, of course, but it's a good looking piece of nephrite. So do check that out. And then over to this, Lac Bourgat. There's two lacquerware, lacquer and mother of pearl lots in this sale. One of them are these little trays, and this is an interesting lot because the one on the left is a black background and the one on the right is a brown background, and the coloration is very good. They probably date to the Kangxi period. That's what they made quite a few of them. Some are a little before, some are a little after, but these are very nice quality, and I would expect them to be probably Kangxi. And I don't see any damage on them. Again, I have a feeling this and the European subject matter tray, a lot of the stuff must have come from the same person. They just said it's a collection of a gentleman, but you never know when they say it's a collection of a gentleman. Is it all of the sale or some of the sale and so forth? These appear to be sort of consistent with some other pieces we've seen, but these a really nice set pair of lacquer trays. They're small, of course, 4 by 4.5 by 4.5 inches, estimated at $400 to $600. They should easily get to the upper end of that estimate. So, the brown one might push it even further. The one on the right. That brown lacquer one, that might push it a bit further. It's beautifully done. The colors of the mother of pearl are exceptional on this one. Absolutely lovely, and don't be surprised if it goes up over the $500 or $600 range per piece. So $1,100 to $1,200 for the lot, maybe more. Very nice objects. And also these cups. And you've seen these cups before, very classic. And these are figural, which makes them rather desirable with human figures in them, rather than just a regular landscape. And in this one has a boat and so forth. And they look to be in quite good condition. They have silver liners and so forth. And here they are, nicely done. The estimate on these is about the same. These are, well, $300 to $500. They are going to do better than that. They will do better than that. They will probably bring $300 or $400 a piece, somewhere in that range, I think. If they don't, you got a good buy. And as I always say, just go and leave a bid on this stuff. Leave $200 or $300 on each lot and get involved. All right, and then over here, the bamboo burlwood figure of a sage. This looks to be a late 19th century one, but it's nicely carved. As everybody knows, I like these things. This is a good one. A great facial expression and so forth. I don't think this is one of the modern knockoffs that's floating around. Here's the stand. Looks like it's been around for quite a while. The stand alone looks like it's probably from over 1880. But the bottom of it, the wear and so forth, looks fine. But this is a nice bamboo carving. There's the bottom of it. Let's see here. It's 8.5 inches long. Estimated at $300 to $500. It will get through that, I suspect. It's a very nice piece of bamboo, but there's a lot of bad bamboo on the market right now. So maybe it'll slip through the cracks. There are several other carved wood lots, bamboo lots in here, including this one of a Guanyin riding a lion. It's nicely done, nice facial expression, late Qing. Example, estimated at $400 to $600. This is a bigger one. It's 10 inches tall. It's pretty good size. Expect it to get in the $500 to $700 range if a bamboo collector shows up. Could even bring more. You never know. The 18th century ones of this form sell for $4,000 or $5,000 these days. And then over to this. If you like unusual things and you like Yi Xing, you got to check these out. These are wonderful. It's a pair of cicada form wall vases with Yi Xing and glazed wings. They're dating them to the late 19th, early 20th century. I don't argue with that. They're 7 inches tall. These are not small. They're wall pockets, and they're meant to hang on your wall. And there's the backs of them. They have seal marks on them. If you want to go, there's a pretty good photograph of the seal. If you have a good book on Yi Xing seal marks, you could probably look it up. I've never seen a really good book on Yi Xing seal marks yet, but if one of you is lucky enough to have one or can read Chinese, because they do publish them in Chinese, it's worth doing. But these are cool, sort of ferocious looking, but very unusual. Extremely sort of, and the wings almost look like wood grain, almost like Faubourg glaze that you saw in 18th century ceramics. But I think these are probably 19th century, but beautifully done. These are really interesting things. If you like unusual things, and the estimate's peanuts, $200 to $300. Only 6 bidders are watching it. The form is so unusual, it may scare off some people because they won't be able to find it readily on the internet by looking it up. These look fine. And these should bring $1,000. These are very interesting and very rare. But rare forms don't always translate into money. They're still rare, but people will walk away if they can't find a comp for it. because they're buying on their on previous auction prices. If they can't find a previous auction price, they just walk away. So in these kinds of cases, you might get a really good deal. Leave a bid. And then there's an underglazed blue, an underglazed red snuff bottle, slight tapering form, cylindrical. It looks like a late 19th century one, but it's underglazed blue and underglazed red, and the underglazed red was beautifully applied and didn't burn in the process of being cooked in the kiln. Looks like a nice one. There it is. The estimate on it is very reasonable, $300 to $500. They all seem to bring, $450 to $600 these days with the underglazed red. So if you're a snuff bottle buyer, you want to check that out. You absolutely want to check that out. And then over to this is the Suba sale. There are a lot of Subas. This is at Skinner's or Bonham Skinner or whatever name they're using now. I have to keep track. Anyway, and some of them are large lots. There's actually more than we put onto the pages because they all looked authentic. And I just wanted to show that there's a good Suba sale coming up, and there's some good examples. And there's some lots with 4 or 5 Subas in them. And so these are nearly all of them are reticulated and very well embellished. And some of them are very early. You definitely want to check this out if you're a Suba buyer. Very attractive. I like the artwork on them. I've always found them interesting, and the inlays and so forth that they apply, and the gilding and whatnot. This one is getting a lot of attention. Obviously, it's already up to $1,000. The sale is in about a week. This collection will do well. But if you like the real stuff, you like real Subas that aren't the copies that turn up all over the place, especially on eBay, you want to check this sale out at Skinner's. It's a good-looking group of Subas, beautiful quality. And now on to here we go. This. There was a sale at Michael Grogan's in Boston this past week. It was a silver sale with a few Asian lots in it. Some of you may know about it. There was a very good lot of jade in the sale that did very, very well. Brought around $45,000. And I spotted this sale sort of at the last minute. And I saw this charger. And this is an amazing piece of Amari. I want you to pay attention to this. I spotted this and I went, wow, look at the way the decoration is done with the curved linear leaves, the beautiful enamels and so forth, and the size. It's 24 inches in diameter. This was a beast. It's got a very extensive inscription signature on the back. And notice again on the back these curved linear leaves all over the place. And I couldn't resist it and I bought it. And I want to show it here because it's hard to get a sense of how big this thing is. And I just picked it up the other day. So hold on a second. Jesus. That's it. This is a beast of a charger. Extremely large. Beautifully done. If I drop it, it's going to crush me. There's the back of it. There's spur marks on the back. It's a wonderful example, and I don't know who it's by just yet. We're trying to break down that signature on here, but this is such an exceptional piece of Amari. There's a lot of Japanese Meiji period Amari around, and every once in a while a piece like this turns up on the market, and it probably would have done a lot, maybe brought more money in an Asian sale rather than a silver sale, but. It was out there on the web, and I spotted it, and I thought, my goodness, isn't that a wonderful piece of Amari? And massive, 24 inches. It doesn't have a crack or a hairline or a repair. It's heavy as a box of rocks, and no chips and no nothing. It's in absolutely pristine condition. I was thrilled, and it went, I think, very reasonably. It went on a single bid of $500. And this is why I say always leave a bid. Leave a bid. All right. And the other thing that was in the sale that I also bought was this painting of the Chinese watercolor of the two Shishi dogs. I absolutely loved it and thought, well, that's an interesting painting. And signed in the lower left. I haven't figured out who the signature is yet. Not that concerned about it, to be honest. But it's beautifully painted. And this went through also for $500. All right, and it was estimated at $1,000 to $2,000, which I thought was a reasonable estimate. And the Amari Charger was estimated at 1 to 2,000, which I thought was reasonable too. But you never know, and this is the why I say just leave a bid, just leave some money on it. You may surprise yourself and end up with something tremendous. I'm absolutely thrilled with both of these pieces. I like them a lot, and we're going to maybe deaccession a couple of things around the house to make space for them here. But that's the benefit of just leaving a bid and see what happens. You never know. All right. And also in the sale was this, a very nice five-piece garniture set of late 18th century export vases and jars. It's a good-looking set. One of them had a repair here, but overall they were very fine quality, and they went for $2,000 plus the premium, so $2,500 for 5 vases. One of them had a repair, as far as I could tell, but the other 4 were fine, and they're certainly worth $600 or $800 a piece. So somebody got a very good purchase with that one. And then over to this. This was one of the little bargains of the week. Those of you buy late Ming wares, this was being sold by Dixon's down in Crumpton, Maryland, and they had listed this as Japanese. It's not. It's Chinese. And here's the back of it, with the famous Chen Mar mark and all that kiln grit and so forth. But this does not, and the paste on the foot does not appear to be a Japanese piece to me at all. It looks to be quite Chinese in its decoration, the blue, the way it's done, and so forth. And somebody picked this up at just $75. Had they advertised it as Chinese, it probably would have brought about 4 times that amount. It was a nice piece, shaped rim, brown dressing, kiln grit on the back. All the hallmarks of late Ming to me. So there you go. Wan Li or somewhere around there. Okay. And then over here, this is the Marsan sale. As I said, it was finished up a little while ago, just before I started recording this week's video. I was sort of waiting for it to finish because I was hoping it would do well. They did a good job. They did a good job with the sale. The sale did well. It did well for the auction house and the seller because there was quite a bit of material here. They packaged it up very well, so they got good prices overall. But also they made it enticing enough that people who are dealers or people who are part-time dealers and collectors that maybe would want to keep 1 or 2 things out of a lot and then sell off the rest to keep the kitty full for further collecting. This was a great sale to do it at because there were interesting pieces in here. There's some academic sort of pieces in here, things that are worth studying, whole bunch of Southeast Asian jarlets and whatnot. And the stuff, I think the prices were very reasonable. Here you have a lot of 17th to 19th century dishes, nice blue and white pieces. One of them had a repair to it, but all 5 of them went through for $342 for 5 pieces. All right. And then over to this very nice Qinlong 18th century export charger. It was around 15 inches in diameter. Had a tiny little nick out of the rim over here somewhere, right there. But otherwise it looked pretty good. Went for $499 plus the premium. Not bad. In the past, we've seen these big plates bring $800, $900, $1,000. I think the nick on the rim held it back a little bit, but it was a beautifully painted example. This is why I always say go for the artwork. The decoration on this is the best. This kind of export blue and white ware from the 18th century, when it's done in this quality and this style, is really the best of the best. This is top of the line Chinese export blue and white for the foreign markets. The honeycomb pattern around the cavetto is beautifully done. The floral sprays are wonderfully applied and shaded, given ample space within negative space in between. Then you have this wonderful mountain, the layered rocks and mountains coming up all over it. Over here, and then distant mountains in the mist like you see on Chinese paintings. And then this bridge, which actually has detailed, you can actually see this little steps on the bridge, which is something you don't see very often. This piece was meticulously painted, and that to me makes it very worthwhile. Makes it very worthwhile. I would rather have this than one that's absolutely perfect and not of this quality. The quality of this plate was exceptional. If you're a collector, this is the kind of thing you want to own. And it went for $499 plus premium, or around, that comes out to about $650 all in and done. Very reasonable. And then there was this. This was a good lot. 2 18th century, well, all 3 of them are 18th century. The 2 end jars appear to be Kangxi. The one in the middle is probably mid 18th century. But nice lot, unusual shapes, good form, beautiful color cobalt, and all three of them went for $788, or with the premium about $300 a piece, which is very reasonable in today's market, as most of you know. There aren't many Kangxi pieces that are well done that sell for $300 these days. And then you had this, a big set of 9 18th century export dishes. Some of them had little nicks and repairs, I'm sure, but overall, it's a good looking lot. Something you could buy, and the one on the top, I remember, had a repair to it. Maybe that's the only one. But at any rate, all 9 of them went for just $447. That works out to about $45, $50 per $50 to $60 a plate. It's a reasonable purchase. Makes a lot of sense. And then over to these jarlets. This was my favorite little jarlet lot because of some of the forms that were in here. There's some early ones back here. That's an early Ming example. This is a very nice Wan Li example. You have this compressed melon form, which I thought was quite attractive. And you have the Phoenix one in the back. All very, very nice. And it sold for $1,117 plus premium, or around $1,400 for all 5 pieces, or $300 a piece, which is perfectly reasonable. Always break it down by the piece. And then, so overall, it was a good sale. Before I go on from there, this was a nice auction, and I did get an email from them. It's a father and son team that do the sales, and they had gotten a good response. I know a number of you reached out to them, and they were very, they said thank you for doing the video, and I was happy to do it. I like to bolster, do what I can to bolster attention onto auctions that I think are interesting. That I'm a dealer, but I'm also a collector, and it's always fun to share information about a good auction that's coming up. And this was quite a sale. It was a good sale, very good, and the prices were fine, so everybody should be very happy all the way around. All right, and then back over to this. This is coming up at Carlo Bonti's, and I don't remember if I had mentioned these before. I might have a couple of weeks ago, but they struck me as being so interesting. If you're a Kutani buyer, you want to go look at these. These are Kutani vases with applied bamboo tubes or porcelain that look like bamboo tubes going up the side with bamboo leaves coming off of them and flowers and so forth. Very, very unusual, really unusual Meiji period Kutani ware. They're about a foot tall each. And I think they're great. The opening bid is 500 euros, which shouldn't have any trouble getting to. There are 10 bidders watching it, but this lot should bring the estimate. It should bring $1,000 to $1,500. It's very, very attractive. If you're a Kutani buyer, you definitely want to check that out. And then over here to this. This was something that sold. This was at Kingham's Auctions. I just want to mention this was another great little buy. I don't know why they estimated it so low. It was a very good 18th century underglazed blue plate with willow trees and children in a garden. Look like they're wrestling, and the 2 moms are off to the side watching. Pleasant scene. And this little plate just went for $118. I think this was a very nice quality piece of porcelain, but very attractively done. And it measured about 6 inches in diameter, but nice early piece. And then over to this. This is coming up on the 12th of October. This is the Twenswilingwies auction. They've got a bunch of stuff up. They're on the global pages. They're on the Patreon pages. So do check them out. But you have this nice big Phoenix jar. It's got only 2 people watching this item. I don't know why. The sale is in 12 days. It's been up for a week. And when you see only 2 bidders watching it, it may be because it's difficult to shop there. It may be the oxygen got sucked out of the room by all the other auctions going on, whatever. But if you're a Kangxi jar buyer, you want to look at this. This could be a good buy. The starting price is $1,000, which is very reasonable. It's 34 centimeters tall, or about 14 inches in height, so it should reach $1,000, $1,200 instantly, and could sell for $1,800 to $2,500. But it's a nice piece of blue and white. Get a condition report always, but check it out. And then this is some more of the back to the Masan sale. There was this wonderful little lot of Wan Li jarlets. All different types and shapes and forms, and so it's an instant collection. I like the one on the upper right in particular, and there's some deer examples, deer jars in here, which people do collect. And the whole lot went for $315 US plus premium, which is very, very reasonable. And then here are some more from that sale. These are Southeast Asian stoneware jars. Very interesting. Early ones, 13th to 14th, 15th century. He said this may be 16th century. They're notoriously difficult to date with a lot of accuracy because they made them the same way for so long. But this is a good little lot of jars. If you're interested in jarlets, Southeast Asian art, this would be a terrific thing to have bought for not a lot of money. Not a lot of money for a big grouping like that. And the same thing goes for these cups. I think there's 30 cups here. They range from Ming to early 19th century, and the whole lot went for $315. You really can't beat that. Overall, it was a good series, a good sale, and I think that I hope more people can sign stuff with Masan. They do a good job, and they seem very open, and they provide lots of photographs, and they offer in-house shipping. In-house shipping, and that is such a boost. That is such a boost if you have an auction house that helps you with the shipping, because as you know, if you're here in the United States and you're bidding overseas, you may have a language issue, may have this issue, that issue, but if the auction house will handle the shipping for you at a reasonable rate, and very often they are, I always insist, I'm not in a hurry to get it. I don't need to get it in 3 days. None of that overnight air nonsense. Slow boat to China is fine. Just whatever the cheapest method possible is. If it takes 2 or 3 weeks to get here, that's absolutely fine. And I had a quote on shipping something the other day, something I bought, and it was going to be from California to Boston. It was going to be $675 for something I know we could ship to California from here for under $125. And I wrote them and said, no, just UPS ground, thank you very much. And it was here in a week, and it was $100 and something. It was very reasonable. Don't get talked into these very expensive shipping options. You can tell them what you want, and as long as you're buying in the U.S. and you have it sent UPS ground, it'll be inexpensive and it'll be fine. Or the basic USPS service is fine, and FedEx has some reasonable price things as well. But when you get into things that you want delivered in second day air, first day air, third day, all that, the prices triple and double and triple very, very rapidly. It makes it unappealing. It makes it impossible to buy anything because the shipping could end up costing you twice as much as the object. So keep that in mind. But always ask for the least expensive method possible. And you can do your own estimating. You can go to UPS and look up where they are, their zip code to your zip code, throw in approximately how big the piece will be, and you can get a pretty good idea on what just the basic UPS ground rate will be. And it's rather surprising how reasonable it can be. So always look into that as an option. Okay, so there we are. That is it for the week. There's a bunch of stuff coming up. I'm hoping to get the Sotheby's auction results out next week. I got tied up when we got back from New Hampshire. We came back from New Hampshire on Monday. We came back late after the saga of the house. It's all pretty much all wrapped up now. Thank you. Hope another tree doesn't fall on the place. And we came back, and I had to spend most of the week getting caught up on replies and doing some other things around here and picking up some things that I bought and whatnot. So I'm a little behind on the videos. I apologize for that. But it was sort of a shortened week for me this week because of things that I was committed to doing during the week and coming home late from New Hampshire because of the situation with the house up there with the porch that got collapsed and all the appliances that got short-circuited. So at any rate, it was a lot of fun. No, it wasn't. That's it. Subscribe here if you haven't already on YouTube. We'd love to see you subscribe and leave a comment. Did you see anything last week that you liked in particular? And if you haven't joined yet on the Global Pages or Patreon, please give it some thought. It's how we fund all the stuff that we do on the website and pay for the servers and one thing and another. And it makes a difference. It helps. So there we are. And thank you to those of you that do. You are very appreciated. All right. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll be back next week with another video, a couple of more videos, I'm hoping, and one of them I think will be very interesting. I've been putting together information to get that done on what's happening with one of the big auction houses and maybe impacting one of the other big auction houses, and we'll see where it all ends up. But we're going to talk about it a little bit, bring people up to date. All right, have a good week, and thanks for watching. Bye bye.